Hello, and welcome to Industry Talks with Forteck.
Today's topic that we were going to discuss is protecting wildlife during logging. So, do you want to kick it off at all, Mark?
Sure. So forestry has come a long way in the past 50, 100 years. There's lots of provincial and federal legislation regarding protecting wildlife and the environment, and that goes all the way down to from procedures and laws down to just logging practices. So yeah, one of the main things that when we're out actually doing our work, we follow a set of ground rules and ensuring that right on the ground as we're doing layout and the groundwork, we're looking out for any wildlife potential areas or any potential areas with high wildlife that we can protect or do wildlife tree patches, retention patches, or even like just buffers around dens to protect wildlife.
Yeah, what's an example of something to be in a operating ground rules, Mark?
One would be buffers for dens. So certain species require buffers on their dens. There is for environment, so all different kinds of classes of streams require different buffers along the stream buffer width. So it can vary from just vegetation buffer all the way up to a 60-meter buffer on larger rivers.
What's do you have any examples of other specific features that you've seen protected, maybe that are above and beyond the operating ground rules, maybe bird trees or something like that?
Yeah, so actually, well, in the ground rules, there are rules regarding stick nests. So any raptor nests that you find require a 100-meter buffer. So that's a pretty significant one. There is certain rules like up to discretion on the actual layout staff regarding holes, so cavity nests in trees. So we do buffer those out if we come across them in the woods. It's actually technically illegal to harm any nests that are in cavities. So you got to make sure that if you do come across it, it's illegal to intentionally destroy them. So if you come across them, you got to make sure we flag them off and protect that from logging.
Yeah, I've seen situations where companies have utilized like wolf trees, which basically be a tree with a lot of thick branches on it, kind of scraggly, doesn't really make very good lumber. So I've seen mills utilize wolf trees, and if they have some like woodpecker cavities, things like that, putting like 30-meter buffers on it, whether that be digitally or flagged. So that's definitely some of the ways that I've seen forestry companies working on the land base been able to protect things like woodpeckers and migratory birds.
Yeah, for sure.
Thomas, do you have any examples? Thomas has been working in Saskatchewan over the last couple of years primarily. Do you have any examples of things that they do there to protect wildlife during logging?
Totally, yeah. Well, like Mark just touching on the creeks and streams, different classifications on and different buffers for different sizes of creeks. Another one is the bridges and crossings needed, to access some of the wood. They have to regulations here are, and everywhere with forestry would be to keep the creeks safe and to find the best places to cross, not disturbing them with the least amount as possible. So after they're done in an area, they got, by law, they have a time frame and they got to get that crossing removed and, any kind of bridge on it, all removed and put it back the way it was when it was there before. And other things with wildlife I've seen, bear dens, like you're saying, and wolf dens. I've done 100-meter buffers or 200-meter buffers on endangered places and lakes all the way around. Can't ribbon that right off, so none of those trees get cut. And you wouldn't even know if you're in that lake that there's any logging around, kind of thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, one topic that I've known that's been coming up a lot in regards to endangered species would be the boreal, the woodland caribou. And one thing there's been a lot of stop logging operation, but what I've been finding now is that they are building plans to come in, and rather than just doing patch logging over hundreds of years and taking out specific patches, what they come in and do is basically like log the whole area, and then bring it, let it basically reclaim everything and let it come back to natural. So reclaim all the roads, everything in the area. So just basically take it all out at once and then stay out of that area for the next 100 years or whatever the rotation is. My understanding is the reason that they would want to do that is a lot of those areas could potentially be pine stands, and they typically burn on a larger scale. So it'd be big fire events that would typically take that out, and then
Also,
it would
pine
grow
beetle.
back. Yeah, so it'd typically take it out and then grow back over a rotation of a forest, rather than having small patchworks like we've traditionally done in logging, like strip cutting and things like that. So it's one thing that I've seen forestry companies and utilizing over in caribou habitat areas over the past like couple of years specifically.
Yep, for sure. One thing that kind of goes along with that too, you mentioned pine, would be our heavy. Alberta was pretty intensive on the mountain pine beetle strategy and harvesting lots of pine to prevent the spread of mountain pine beetle. And I think it's been fairly successful actually, considering some other areas in Canada that have been hit pretty hard.
Yeah, one thing that I mean that we learned back in school that I always like to explain to the general public is traditionally the land base in Alberta burn at a certain interval, and depends on the area, but let's just say 100 years, for example. So when once humans started heavily fighting forest fires, what that did was it allowed for lots of over mature forest, and part of the reason why these infestations and have been able to come in, and then some of these larger scale fires that we've been having in like British Columbia, for example, or some of the more recent ones in Alberta, could likely be due to over mature forests due to lack of fire on the landscape. So I think one way that forest companies have been and potentially should be is logging on the land is to be mimicking wildfire as much as possible. There's a lot of studies about it. I'm no expert in it, but that's definitely one thing that I've been seeing companies utilize, and it's one thing that we learned in school a lot of was mimic forest fire with logging operations, because when you take forest fire off the land base by firefighting, there can be a lot of environmental impacts for many years. Leads to over mature forests with absence of fire, and more prone to disease and wind throw events and things like that. So
Yeah, Brandon, I remember that job we did in Wabasca there, the forest fire there in the woods, and we went right in after like weeks and got boots on the ground with a good crew, and we salvaged a big area that was burnt, like that big fire last year or the year before, and they're going to use all that wood that was just going to rot away, and then they're also going to reclaim all that burned area after cutting those burnt trees. They're going to go back and replant all that area burnt. So definitely forestry plays a huge impact for the wildlife there to bounce it back that much quicker.
yeah, it's a really great point. So yeah, we just wanted to basically have a general intro discussion into protecting wildlife during logging, and that was our discussion this week. And if you like if you have any comments, anything that you like that we said, if you think that there's anything inaccurate or something that you don't agree with, let us know. And make sure to like and follow and subscribe to our channel. And we're here to bring you content every week, and that's our target. So.
Awesome. Okay, thanks everyone.
Yeah, thanks guys.